We had not lost the will to explore, but people did not think there was a way. And if people don't think there's a way, then they won't bash their head against the wall continuously. They'll sort of give up.
In July 1969, the world held its breath as Apollo 11 launched toward the moon, a monumental leap for mankind. But what if the story we all know is only part of the truth? What if beneath the surface of this celebrated mission lay hidden dangers, untold secrets, and technology far more advanced than NASA ever revealed? Elon Musk, a visionary in space exploration, has recently shed light on the darkest corners of Apollo 11, revealing risks that could have turned triumph into catastrophe. What did we really find on the moon? And what is Elon Musk hinting at when he talks about suppressed information and a missed opportunity to push humanity further? Buckle up, because this journey into the Apollo 11 mission will blow your mind. And what we uncover might change how you see space exploration forever. Elon Musk has long emphasized the magnitude of danger faced by Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins. Unlike the technological advancements of today, where missions are run with the benefit of decades of data and experience, Apollo 11 was operating on the frontier of the unknown. The stakes were extraordinary. One miscalculation, one failure in equipment, and the world could have witnessed the tragic loss of astronauts on the moon. The smallest detail, from navigation errors to equipment malfunctions, carried the weight of life or death. As Musk often points out, the success of the Apollo mission was not just a technological victory, but a profound gamble. The lunar module, Eagle, that Armstrong and Aldrin piloted to the surface was designed to operate in an environment that had only been theorized. While the astronauts were well prepared, the harsh reality was that no one could be certain how the spacecraft would perform on the lunar surface, where unknown variables such as dust and gravity could easily compromise the mission. Musk, in his reflections on Apollo 11, has commented on how fragile the spacecraft really was, particularly the lunar module's landing legs, which had been modified in a last-minute decision to reduce weight. This compromised their ability to handle potentially uneven terrain on the moon, heightening the risk of a crash during landing. As Musk often reminds us, the ascent engine was not only untested in the conditions of the lunar surface, but was also non-redundant. There was no backup. A single malfunction could have left the crew marooned on the moon's surface forever. The unprecedented dangers of the Apollo mission weren't only acknowledged behind closed doors, they were also addressed at the highest levels of government. President Richard Nixon had a contingency plan in place in case the mission ended in failure, a fact that Elon Musk has brought up in his recent discussions about space exploration. While most people remember the grandeur of Armstrong's first step on the moon, few know that Nixon had a speech prepared to deliver to the American people in the event that Armstrong and Aldrin were stranded on the moon, left to die due to a malfunction or other catastrophic failure. In the speech, Nixon would have acknowledged the bravery of the astronauts and cast their deaths as a noble sacrifice for the sake of humanity's quest to explore the stars. The speech, only recently declassified, is a chilling reminder of the fragility of space exploration. Musk has referred to this speech as a symbol of how little room for error the mission had. He has even cited it when discussing his own plans for future space missions, particularly his vision for Mars colonization, where contingency plans will also need to be put in place for potential failures. In the rush to celebrate Apollo 11's success, another potentially significant risk was quietly overlooked: the possibility of biological contamination. After returning to Earth, the Apollo 11 astronauts were placed in quarantine to ensure that they had not brought back any harmful lunar pathogens. While this protocol might have seemed thorough, Elon Musk has cited studies indicating that the quarantine process had major flaws. A recent study from Georgetown University, often cited by Musk, suggests that there were several breaches in the quarantine procedures. The idea behind the quarantine was to isolate the astronauts and their lunar samples for 21 days, to ensure that no harmful microorganisms from the moon were introduced into Earth's biosphere. However, there were points of failure throughout the process. For instance, the transport of lunar samples to laboratories had not been fully sealed, allowing the possibility of contamination. Moreover, the astronauts themselves were allowed to interact with individuals who were not subjected to the same stringent quarantine measures. Musk has pointed out that if lunar microorganisms had existed, Earth could have been exposed to alien life forms without the public ever realizing it. NASA, while aware of these breaches, chose to focus more on the technical success of the mission rather than draw attention to these risks. This decision, Musk argues, shows a larger issue with early space exploration: an inherent conflict between scientific ambition and public transparency. Though no lunar pathogens were found, the potential for contamination serves as a reminder of the risks involved in venturing into unknown environments. As we plan missions to Mars and beyond, where the possibility of discovering extraterrestrial life is higher, Musk stresses the need for more stringent protocols to prevent biological contamination between worlds. But as we reflect on the hidden perils of Apollo 11, one question lingers. Beyond the risks and calculated dangers, what was it that truly ignited this monumental quest to touch the stars? The Apollo 11 mission, which took place in July 1969, marked mankind's first successful attempt to land on the Moon. The mission was a culmination of a decade-long effort by NASA, driven largely by the US-Soviet space race, which was at its height during the Cold War. The space race had begun with the Soviet Union's successful launch of Sputnik in 1957, followed by the first manned spaceflight by cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin in 1961. The United States, seeking to reassert its technological superiority, vowed to land a man on the Moon before the decade's end, a goal set by President John F. Kennedy in his famous 1962 speech at Rice University. By the time of Apollo 11's launch, the entire world was watching. The mission symbolized not only American scientific and technological prowess, but also the global human endeavor to push beyond the confines of Earth. It was more than just a space race victory. It was seen as a victory for all of humanity. For the first time, the possibility of humans living and working beyond Earth seemed within reach. The anticipation leading up to the Apollo 11 mission was palpable, with millions glued to their television sets, watching history unfold. Elon Musk, known for his admiration of space exploration and ambition to colonize Mars, often cites Apollo 11 as the pinnacle of human achievement. In several interviews, Musk has noted that the Apollo missions inspired his own endeavors with SpaceX, reminding us that Apollo 11 wasn't just about the first moon landing, it was about setting a precedent for future generations of explorers. While these aspects of the Apollo 11 mission are well known, Elon Musk's comments have revealed untold details about the experiences of these astronauts. Particularly, what was Michael Collins truly thinking as he orbited the Moon, disconnected from Earth and his crewmates? Could it be that his role in Apollo 11 held more significance than history has acknowledged? When it comes to the Apollo 11 mission, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin are the names that echo through the halls of history. Their iconic walk on the lunar surface is celebrated in every textbook, museum, and documentary. However, one name often remains in the shadows: Michael Collins, the third astronaut who stayed aboard the command module while Armstrong and Aldrin descended to the Moon. Collins' role, though unseen by the public eye, was not only critical, but also rife with pressure and responsibility. Elon Musk has repeatedly pointed to Collins' contributions as an example of the unsung teamwork that goes into space exploration, where the success of a few is reliant on the efforts of many. Collins was the command module pilot, meaning he was responsible for ensuring that the spacecraft stayed in lunar orbit and was ready to bring Armstrong and Aldrin back safely to Earth. While his crewmates made history on the Moon, Collins remained alone in the command module for 21 hours, orbiting the Moon in isolation, completely out of communication with Earth for 48 minutes of each lunar orbit. This eerie solitude is often described as serene, but it was also a moment of immense pressure. One wrong calculation, one misstep in his duties, and Armstrong and Aldrin could have been stranded on the lunar surface, with Collins left to return to Earth alone. In interviews years after the mission, Collins opened up about the weight of responsibility he felt. "I was alone, but I wasn't lonely," he later said, trying to dispel the myth that his isolation was a burden. However, his role was far from easy. While Armstrong and Aldrin became symbols of triumph, Collins became the figure who held everything together behind the scenes. Musk has frequently mentioned Collins as a key figure who embodies the spirit of sacrifice, teamwork, and the willingness to take on unsung roles that space exploration demands. What makes Collins' contribution even more fascinating is the speculation about a secret mission he may have undertaken while orbiting the Moon. Though no official documentation has ever confirmed such a mission, Musk and others have hinted at the possibility. Was Collins tasked with gathering classified data or testing experimental equipment while in lunar orbit? Some believe his 21-hour solitude involved more than just monitoring the command module's systems. The layers of mystery surrounding Collins' role in Apollo 11 have made him a subject of curiosity, with some even suggesting that the command module's time on the far side of the Moon involved undisclosed government research. Musk has alluded to these theories, fueling speculation that there was more to Collins' mission than meets the eye. After all, space exploration in the 1960s wasn't just about scientific discovery. It was also deeply entwined with geopolitical strategy and Cold War tensions. Could Collins have been part of a covert operation while his colleagues made history on the Moon? The US was competing with the Soviet Union in a technological race to the Moon, and also in a broader game of intelligence and military dominance. Space was the new frontier, not just for scientific exploration, but for geopolitical strategy. If Collins was indeed part of a secret mission, it would fit neatly into the larger narrative of that era, one where every technological advancement had both public and private objectives. But what if Collins' secret mission wasn't the only hidden element of Apollo 11? What other classified technologies or experimental operations might have been in play during humanity's first steps on the Moon? The Apollo 11 mission is often celebrated for its monumental achievement, the first successful manned landing on the Moon. But while much of the focus has been on the historical importance of Neil Armstrong's one small step, there's another aspect of the mission that has piqued the interest of space experts like Elon Musk: the technology used during Apollo 11. For decades, NASA portrayed the mission as being accomplished with rudimentary technology. However, Musk has raised some important questions about whether the public was fully informed about the true capabilities of NASA's systems in 1969. Was Apollo 11 more advanced than we were led to believe? And if so, what was NASA hiding? One of the key aspects that Musk has pointed out is that some of the technology involved in Apollo 11 seemed to be decades ahead of its time. For instance, the Saturn V rocket, which remains the most powerful rocket ever built, was an engineering marvel that many argue couldn't be replicated today with the same precision. The command module's guidance computer was another piece of technology that seemed almost otherworldly in its sophistication for the time. Although NASA often emphasized that its computers were relatively simplistic, especially by today's standards, the reality may be more complex. The Apollo Guidance Computer, AGC, was far more advanced than the average person might realize. At the time, computers were massive, room-sized machines that required immense power. The AGC, by contrast, was a compact device, capable of processing real-time data to control the spacecraft's flight path and ensure the accuracy of lunar landing maneuvers. It used integrated circuits, a cutting-edge technology at the time, which later became the building blocks of modern computing. According to Musk, the AGC's capabilities were so advanced that it laid the groundwork for future innovations in computer science and avionics. Could it be that NASA's portrayal of this computer as primitive was an intentional downplaying of its true potential? After all, keeping technological advancements under wraps would have provided the US a significant advantage in the Cold War-era space race. Another aspect of Apollo 11's technology that Elon Musk has questioned is the extent to which the public was informed about the capabilities of NASA's systems. It's well known that NASA was working under immense pressure, not only to land a man on the moon, but also to do so before the Soviet Union. In such a high-stakes environment, it's plausible that some details of the mission's technological prowess were deliberately withheld for strategic reasons. There are reports, for instance, that certain telemetry data from Apollo 11 was classified for decades. Was this an attempt to keep the Soviet Union in the dark about U.S. technological capabilities? Or was there something more? One of the most intriguing points Musk has raised concerns the suppression of data gathered during the Apollo 11 mission. Some of this data, Musk suggests, was withheld from the public for decades. But why would NASA hide information about the moon's surface, especially if it was deemed safe enough for human exploration? Recent revelations have shown that NASA may have discovered anomalies on the moon that were never fully disclosed. Musk has suggested that some of the photographs and telemetry data sent back from Apollo 11 were altered or withheld to prevent public scrutiny. There are theories that NASA encountered unexpected conditions on the moon, conditions that could affect future missions, including those planned by Musk's own SpaceX. For instance, certain lunar surface anomalies, unusual magnetic fields, and even the discovery of water ice at the lunar poles were kept under wraps for years. While water on the moon is now widely accepted, NASA's early hesitation to reveal this information has raised questions about what else might have been hidden. Musk's concerns about data suppression aren't just rooted in curiosity about the past. They have significant implications for the future. As NASA and private space companies, including SpaceX, gear up for future lunar missions and potential Mars colonization, knowing the full scope of the moon's environment is critical. If key details were kept secret for decades, what does that mean for the safety and planning of future missions? Musk's critique seems to stem from a desire for transparency in space exploration. For Musk, any withheld information could pose risks for future explorers, especially as SpaceX prepares to send humans beyond low Earth orbit. There's also the question of whether some of the data gathered during Apollo 11 was related to lunar mining prospects. Musk has pointed out that the moon holds valuable resources like helium-3, which could be used in future energy production. If NASA knew about these resources during Apollo 11, it would make sense to keep that information classified, especially if the U.S. government was concerned about other countries gaining access to them. While the technological marvels of Apollo 11 continue to impress us even decades later, the secrecy and speculation surrounding NASA's decisions during the mission raise an even more tantalizing question. What does Elon Musk really think about the legacy of Apollo 11, and how does he plan to build on it for future space exploration? Is it possible that Musk sees the Apollo program as both a blueprint and a cautionary tale for what's to come? Elon Musk's views on the Apollo 11 mission are both filled with admiration and critical reflection. While he acknowledges the mission as one of the greatest human achievements, he also believes that Apollo 11 was a missed opportunity, an event that could have been a springboard for more ambitious space exploration, but ultimately led to a period of stagnation in manned missions. Musk often draws comparisons between the Cold War space race and his own objectives with SpaceX. In Musk's view, the singular focus on beating the Soviets to the moon overshadowed the greater potential that space exploration could offer. Musk has pointed out that the Apollo program was not driven solely by the curiosity to explore space or the desire to push human boundaries, but by political motivations. Once the U.S. had successfully landed astronauts on the moon, the urgency to continue manned lunar missions diminished. The space race had been won, and the focus shifted. This, Musk believes, was a critical juncture where humanity could have accelerated its efforts to become a multiplanetary species, but instead we slowed down. In contrast, Musk's goals with SpaceX are not based on competition with other nations, but on the belief that humanity's survival depends on expanding beyond Earth. He views space exploration as not just a frontier for scientific discovery, but a necessity for ensuring the long-term survival of the species. One of Musk's most prominent criticisms of NASA is that after Apollo 11, the space agency became overly cautious and conservative. Instead of continuing with bold manned missions, NASA shifted its focus to unmanned exploration, with programs like the Mars rovers and the Voyager probes taking center stage. While these missions have provided invaluable scientific data, Musk argues that they lack the grandeur and ambition of human-led exploration. For Musk, robotic missions, while important, should not have taken precedence over the continued exploration of the Moon and other celestial bodies by humans. He has often spoken about how NASA, in the aftermath of Apollo 11, effectively shelved further plans for human space exploration. The cancellation of the Apollo program after Apollo 17 in 1972 marked the end of an era, and according to Musk, this marked the beginning of decades of missed opportunities. According to him, if the energy and resources that were poured into the Apollo program had continued to be invested in manned space exploration, we would have a permanent presence on the Moon and be much closer to establishing a colony on Mars. According to Musk, government agencies are often mired in red tape and lack the agility to make quick decisions or take bold risks, something he believes is crucial for space exploration. This is why Musk believes that private space companies like SpaceX are essential to the future of space travel. SpaceX was founded with the mission to make space travel more affordable and accessible. Musk has pointed out that NASA's cost structure for launching rockets has been prohibitively high, which has significantly slowed the pace of exploration. By developing reusable rockets, SpaceX aims to reduce the cost of getting into space by a factor of 10, making it possible to send astronauts as well as ordinary people into space. While Elon Musk views Apollo 11 as a monumental achievement, he also sees it as a symbol of what could have been. But as we look toward the future of space exploration, one question lingers. Could the mysteries of the Apollo 11 mission, both revealed and hidden, be fueling the rise of conspiracy theories that challenge the very foundation of space travel? The Apollo 11 mission has not only been one of the most celebrated achievements in human history, but also one of the most scrutinized. Since the iconic moon landing in 1969, numerous conspiracy theories have emerged, questioning the authenticity of the mission. Elon Musk, who has a deep respect for space exploration, has occasionally addressed these theories, both humorously and critically. One of the most pervasive conspiracy theories in modern history is the claim that the Apollo 11 moon landing was faked. Proponents of this theory argue that the U.S. government staged the landing in a Hollywood studio as part of a Cold War propaganda effort to demonstrate technological superiority over the Soviet Union. Despite overwhelming evidence proving the legitimacy of the moon landing, including thousands of photographs, videos, rock samples, and testimonies from astronauts and mission control personnel, the conspiracy persists. Elon Musk has addressed these theories in the past, often with a mix of sarcasm and frustration. He once famously quipped, "If we really faked the moon landing, why haven't we faked a Mars landing yet?" NASA's reluctance to disclose certain details, whether for national security reasons or fear of public backlash, has allowed skeptics to fill in the gaps with misinformation. Musk believes that future space exploration must be open and transparent to prevent such theories from gaining traction. SpaceX's approach has been to broadcast its launches and missions live, giving the public unprecedented access to space exploration in real time. Another layer of conspiracy surrounding Apollo 11 involves the idea of predictive programming and hidden messages. Some theorists claim that certain elements of the mission contained symbolic references or concealed meanings. For example, they point to the Apollo 11 mission patch, which features an eagle carrying an olive branch, as a symbol with deeper significance than just peace. Others argue that NASA has included cryptic messages in various missions to foreshadow future events or manipulate public perception. Elon Musk has engaged with these ideas, albeit skeptically. While he acknowledges the fascination people have with finding hidden meanings in space missions, he sees these claims as distractions from the real achievements of the Apollo program. Musk has emphasized that the focus should be on the scientific and technological advancements made during these missions. rather than searching for symbolic or mystical messages. The Apollo 11 mission is a reminder of our relentless drive to explore the unknown. While it succeeded in taking mankind's first steps on the moon, the mission also raised questions that continue to intrigue us today. As we look to the future, SpaceX stands poised to carry the torch forward, turning dreams of Mars and beyond into reality. If you're fascinated by these groundbreaking revelations and eager for more mind-blowing insights, make sure to subscribe to Voyager and hit the bell icon. Together, we'll continue exploring the mysteries of space and beyond. Don't miss what's coming next.